Don't miss the Washington Sportsman's Show, January 24th through 28th at the Washington State Fairgrounds in Puyallup. For show details, exhibitors, and events, visit thesportsshows.com.
Cairo Radio 97.3 FM, streaming on every device from the Carter Subaru Studios. Stories that matter, opinions that bring perspective. This is where you find out why. KIRO FM, Tacoma, Seattle. 8 o'clock.
This is CBS News on the Hour, presented by Serta Mattress.
I'm Steve Kaif, and 13 hours to go before a possible government shutdown.
I hope that by midnight, people will realize that shutdown politics is not a smart way to govern.
Colorado Republican Cory Gardner on CBS This Morning blames Democrats for forcing the case on immigration.
We're going to continue finding a solution for children who came to this country through no fault of their own. We have a responsibility and an obligation to do that, and I believe there's near unanimity in Congress to find that solution.
Well, CBS's Stephen Portnoy.
For now, the House passed 4-week extension is the only option being laid before the Senate. Unwilling to accept that, Democrats say they would be amenable to an extension of just a few days to keep docket talks going. A deal for the Dreamers is complicated, in the Senate Republican leader's own telling, by the lack of clarity from the White House about what President Trump would support.
The U.S. Supreme Court delayed a lower court order that would have forced Republican lawmakers in North Carolina to redraw congressional districts by next week. CBS News legal analyst Andrew Cohn.
Even though this isn't a ruling on the merits of the case, even though the justices didn't really decide anything, this helps Republicans in North Carolina because their district maps, the one a 3-judge panel found to be illegally partisan, likely will still be in place for the 2018 election.
The sentencing hearing for former Olympic gymnastics Dr. Larry Nassar has been extended into next week to let more of his sex assault victims speak in court. Olympic gold medalist Jordan Weaver spoke today.
To this day, I still don't know how he could have been allowed to do this for so long. My teammates and I were subjected to his medical care every single month at the National Team Training Center in Texas. He was the only male allowed to be present in the athlete dorm rooms to do whatever treatments he wanted.
Nassar faces up to 40 years in prison. Amazon is raising the monthly price of its Prime service for shipping and streaming from $10.99 to $12.99. The yearly one-time option of $99 is staying the same. After years of drought, the water situation in a major South African city has gone from bad to worse. CBS's Deborah Paddock.
Cape Town's 4 million residents are now only allowed 23 gallons of water per person per day. Next month, that goes down to 13 gallons. Compare that to the average American, who uses around 100 gallons daily.
The Eagles have settled a lawsuit over the title of one of their biggest hits. A hotel in Mexico called Hotel California can keep using that name but will not seek a U.S. trademark. The band took action after it appeared the hotel was trying to connect with the song to sell merchandise. The Dow is down 38. This is CBS News.
Beauty Rest. When you sleep better, you run farther, lift harder, bike longer. But to sleep better, you need a Beauty Rest. Find a retailer at beautyrest.retailers.com.
Troopers need you to call 911 if you saw a hit-and-run crash this morning. I'll have details after Cairo Radio real-time traffic, but this is snarling traffic in Marysville.
Yeah, it is. It's starting to loosen up a little bit because we certainly have lighter conditions calling, but we've still got about a 2.5-mile backup southbound I-5 from Tulalip all the way down to the 528 interchange there at downtown Marysville. This is actually on the ramp to southbound I-5, so watch for delays through there. We're still losing about 8 minutes. Once you get through that, the Everett to Seattle, Everett to Bellevue drives are actually pretty good. 45 minutes real time there. We've cleared the crash southbound 405 in the Newcastle area that's caused the 15-minute backup that we're dealing with. The backup starts on I-405 right about I-90 and continues down to about 44th. It's a 30-minute drive from Bellevue into Renton. Going the other direction, Renton to Bellevue is up at 45 minutes. I'll give you all the travel times in 10 minutes. This report brought to you by Lucky Eagle Casino and Hotel, which presents Low Cash Saturday, January 27th. Enjoy songs like Chart Topper, I Love This Life. Tickets, details, luckyeagle.com.
Cairo Radio News, 97.3 FM.
A driver did hit a man in Marysville this morning and then left the scene.
At this time, we don't have a suspect vehicle. The pedestrian we know is a male, and I have reports that he was unconscious and bleeding.
We don't know his current condition. State troopers don't have a car description, as she just said, and are asking that if you saw the crash, call 911. Even under the state's distracted driving laws, you can call 911 while driving. This happened on the on-ramp to southbound I-5 from 4th Street in Marysville. Our state finally has a capital budget this morning. The governor says he'll sign it. The budget was held up over water rights issues. Now that it is passed, billions of dollars have been freed up for construction projects, including new schools and affordable housing. Also in Olympia, we heard a new bill that lawmakers think could help combat the opioid crisis. It would limit painkiller prescriptions to a 7-day supply for those 21 years or older. People under 21 could only get a 3-day prescription. The bill is one of at least 7 pieces of legislation that are opioid related. It's time to dust off your pussy hat. The Women's March is back this weekend. Last year, an estimated 120,000 people marched through Seattle in protest of the inauguration of President Trump. It was a silent march, but this year you can expect to hear more from the march.
In this march, people will be able to, express whatever it is that they have to say. So it's not going to be a general call for people to not chant throughout the march.
One of the organizers, Janine Grundy, says they're expecting counter-protesters, but police will be there to stop any violence. The march starts at Cal Anderson Park. They expect you to get there about 9:30, with the march kicking off at 11:30 tomorrow morning. And it was last year's marches around the nation that apparently inspired more women to run for office. Among them, Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkin, whose face is on the cover of the new Time magazine, along with dozens of other women, mostly Democrat, who said they first march. Now they're running. Your forecast, scattered showers again today with breezy conditions. Highs will only reach the mid-40s by the afternoon. 39 right now outside the Carter Subaru studios. I'm Colleen O'Brien.
On demand with the Cairo Radio app. Cairo Radio News, 97.3 FM.
This hour of Seattle's Morning News is brought to you by Wilcox Family Farms. So we can say pussy hat in this case because it refers to kitty ears, right?
Sure.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm up to date on what I'm allowed to say.
I'll allow it.
Thank you. Coming up this hour, the assembled White House press corps has been staring at an empty podium for the last half hour, waiting for a briefing on the potential government shutdown. We'll tell you what comes of that and chat with CBS White House correspondent Margaret Brennan. And historian Felix Bonnell takes us to a unique spot underneath Interstate 5 near Greenway.
From a historical standpoint, it is a nationally significant historic site. It is the only one of its kind in the country.
First, though, do we finally, at long last, know what would work to tackle the opioid epidemic? We now have a bunch of data from actual users, and rather than make you all read the entire report, which I am tempted to do, suppose we talk to the person in charge of the study. That would be University of Washington health researcher Dr. Caleb Banta Green. Of course, anytime you want to present data, listeners want to know the source of the data, so I asked Caleb for the background on this.
I've been a researcher in this area for a long, long time, and we did a survey at 18 syringe exchanges across Washington state, and it was an anonymous survey with over 1,000 clients at these syringe exchanges, and we did this in the early summer of 2017, and it's actually a follow-up survey to one we also did in 2015 with a very similar number of people at a similar number of syringe exchanges.
So you're talking to people who show up to exchange for clean needles, and what percentage said they really, really, really want to get off this habit and would do whatever it takes to achieve that?
So we asked people who said their main drug was heroin. We said, would you like to stop or reduce your use? And 3/4 of them said very much or somewhat. So basically, yes, they would like to stop or reduce their use. That's the vast majority of folks. And then we asked them, what services would you be interested in to help you stop or reduce your use if they were easy to access? And the most common response by a majority of them were the most effective treatment medications, thankfully. They actually know what's most effective, and those are medications like methadone and buprenorphine. Detox is actually not an effective treatment for opioid use disorder all by itself. In fact, it can be counterproductive and cause relapse and overdose. We saw some more people be interested in detox in places that didn't have access to the more effective services, which are those medications.
And this is the big thing to me, that we think that the answer is detox, and you're just the latest. I've had a number of people say, no, that's not the way to do it. It's these substitute drugs. Is there a percentage of those who when you ask them, say, no, just leave us alone?
Yeah, sure. So what we found is that, again, I said 3/4 of folks said that they did want help stopping or reduce their use. The rest of them, that other quarter, said they weren't sure or they didn't want help. What was interesting is we still went ahead and asked everybody, including those folks who said they didn't want to stop or reduce their use, what services would you want? And half of them also wanted services. So the issue is we asked that question in a very specific way. We didn't say, do you want treatment? I did my training in a treatment agency a couple decades ago, and the answer to a person who's engaged in active drug use, do you want treatment, is usually, it depends. So we asked the more specific thing, do you want to stop or reduce your use? Vast majority said yes. And what services do you want? And what those look like were the pieces and parts of treatment. So that was asked in a very specific way. And I think what's really important to understand is that there's a lot of different types of treatment out there. They come with a lot of rules and requirements, and there's reasons for that historically. But what we started doing in the last year or so, particularly in the Seattle area, is rethinking what treatment is. And that treatment doesn't have to come with lots of rules and requirements and barriers, because in fact our goal isn't to create a perfect person. Our goal is to first and foremost keep a person with opioid use disorder on treatment medications every day that we can. And the reason for that is we know that, one, treatment medications support recovery. They help reduce withdrawal and craving. And also, very importantly, from a public health perspective, those medications reduce mortality rates by over 50%. So our goal, first and foremost, is to keep people on those treatment medications every single day that we can. And as they get stability, as they start moving into more stability in their life, multiple weeks and even months into getting stable on medications, then they're at a place when they're off of the opiate roller coaster that they can start taking advantage of healthcare and counseling and social supports. We have it backwards now, where we say first you have to stop using or go through all these hoops and go to all these counseling appointments, and then we'll give you a life-saving medication. Our point is, we want to give you this life-saving medication every single day, understanding that it will bring you stability.
So for those who say we want treatment of some kind, what are the barriers? And do those barriers include fear of being shamed?
Yes, so we asked a question of folks. We said, have you needed health care in the last year and not gotten it? And 59% said yes to that question. And we asked them why. And one of the main reasons was they didn't like how they were treated by providers. There was a lot of stigma and a lot of lecturing about their drug use. And so that stigma is really important. And the way I like to think about this, I think we think about drug users as somehow some whole different class of people. They're just like you and me. I don't go to a Starbucks if they treat me mean every time I go there. I want to be treated well. We really want to make services that are oriented towards what people actually want. The way our systems are built right now, you would think that we don't want customers. There's all these rules and barriers and schedules, and these are all huge barriers to people accessing care. So what we're trying to do is turn this inside out, get people to care that is delivered when and where they want it and they can access it, and making sure they can engage in it on their own terms.
So, of course, the next question is, what would all of that look like in practice? And are we ready for this idea of giving drugs to people? That's coming up in a couple of minutes. We'll have more with UW researcher Dr. Caleb Banta Green right after traffic. But first, let's get a weather check with the Cairo 7 pinpoint forecast.
Means I am a member of a clique. It's kind of like being in a gang, only we have badges, which means you are done. You ain't lying. What the are you doing hanging out in that crew? Those dudes are bad dudes. Great thieves, but straight convicts.
Den of Thieves isn't quite as predictable as I thought it'd be. The back and forth scenes between Butler and Pablo Schreiber, who plays the leader of the bank robbers, are pretty damn good. It does, in a lot of ways, remind me of the movie Heat with Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. However, this is not Heat. It is entirely too long, about 30 minutes too long. It wastes a whole bunch of time on the family backstory of Butler's character. It wasn't germane to the storyline at all. And it just wastes our time with some unnecessary detours from the main actual heist. The very ending, the very, very, very ending of this film comes with a surprise twist that, yes, it does absolutely surprise you, but it's completely unnecessary. And I found myself getting mad just thinking about the twist. The tone of the scene that exposes this twist, doesn't actually match the rest of the story. It doesn't match the tone of the movie, and it's almost like they decided to add it in the third or fourth draft of the film. And for me, it didn't ring true, and I was perfectly satisfied with the ending without the twist. Now, the heist scene and the third act are absolutely worth it, which is why I'm recommending Den of Thieves. But if I'm being totally honest, you're not going to miss too much if you wait for it to come out on Blu-ray. Den of Thieves is rated R. It's out right now. You are listening to The Jason Rand Show. It's time to get your work the right way with Right Way Traffic.
No wrecks or stalls, except for this early morning accident that is still sitting on the ramp from 528 to southbound 5. It's on your left, but that's a pretty open ramp, and drivers are getting around it just fine. Everything else has cleared. We're still seeing some pretty heavy traffic, though, through the S-curves both directions, westbound 90 along Lake Sammamish, and again from Mercer Island to I-5. The drive into Seattle bogs down at about the Snohomish-King County line. It's heaviest at 175th, and from the Lake City Way merge down to 520. Northbound 5 into Seattle slows down at about Albro. This report is brought to you by Staples with great prices on everything you need to print. Get up to $120 off select HP Office Jet Pro printers through tomorrow. Restrictions may apply. That's AM 770 KTTH Traffic. I'm Tammy Bennett.
The Todd Herman Show, weekdays 3 to 6.
And now, this new study on the confiscatory lanes on 405. You know what they're recommending? They want to slow the traffic in the general purpose lanes further. It's a slowing down of people who cannot afford to spend $20 per day, nearly $5,000 per year, to drive a car on a road they paid to have built.
On AM 770 KTTH.
Are you ready to forget the ugly part of your past and look forward to a future without alcohol and drugs? Maybe you came through the holiday season and your spouse or your kids said something to you. Maybe you're feeling guilty that those family get-togethers are just ruined by your addiction issues. Or maybe you're putting yourself in jeopardy professionally. Look, leave all that guilt and shame behind. Call Schick Shadle Hospital at 1-800-CRAVING. Schick Shadle's proven 10-day medical treatment works. It'll work for you, too. A recent scientific study confirmed Schick's amazing results. No other program addresses the physical aspects of addiction and ends the cravings. You can feel great again and look forward to a happy future. Call 1-800-CRAVING. It only takes 10 days and you can get your life back. SchickShadle.com or give them a call at 1-800-CRAVING.
On TV and radio, almost every truck manufacturer says it's truck month. But trust me, every month is truck month at Sunset Trucks. Manufacturers are screaming about rebates, lower financing rates, down payment assistance, bonus tags, and all the rest on brand new trucks. But suppose you could save thousands on a like new, barely used truck with low miles. Thousands. That's right. Thousands. On a model or 2 year older in exchange for saving thousands of dollars. It's a no-brainer. And Sunset Trucks includes warranty protection for life, a limited powertrain warranty honored at any ASC certified repair facility in North America for as long as you own it. What manufacturer even has that on their new trucks? You're right. No one. And why? Because it's a Sunset exclusive. So if all that saving thousands sounds good, then it's Sunset Trucks for you. Check out the expanded inventory 24/7 at sunsettrucks.com. Over 400 pre-owned vehicles every single day, and only the good stuff. Better yet, come to the right side of the road. River Road in Puyallup to quite possibly the nicest pre-owned truck dealership in the country. Sunset Trucks. A negotiable $150 dock fee may be added to the sale price of the vehicle.
I ordered some Andro 400. I'm losing weight around the belly really quickly. Some of the pants that didn't fit me, now they're falling off my hips. There's been a noticeable increase in energy. Then this stuff works. It does work.
That's what Bill said after taking Andro 400 for a month. Now listen to what Richard says about Andro 400.
I did a lot of research on it before I ordered it because I've tried other products in the past and they haven't worked. But I could not believe the difference literally within a month. Since I started taking it, I have lost 37 pounds. It was the belly fat. I could get weight off, but I could never get the tummy off. Now the tummy's coming off, and I have more energy than I've had in 20 years.
Guys, if you too want to lose belly fat, gain energy, and feel 20 years younger like Richard, try Andro 400. The safe, natural, and affordable way to boost your testosterone. Go to andro400.com or call 888-400-0435. That's 888-400-0435.
0435. It's funny how the same word can have different meanings. Hi, this is Brian Evans, founder of Madrona Financial Services, to talk about investment diversification. For many advisors, broadly diversified portfolio means they'll divide your investment assets between a mix of stocks and bonds that are still subject to the ups and downs of the market and interest rates. At Madrona Financial Services, that's not how we define diversification.
It shows that not only does it save lives and treat people well to do good treatment services, but it saves a ton of money and cuts criminal activity and criminal recidivism dramatically and significantly. This isn't just good for that individual person and their family and friends, it's truly good for all of society. What we know for the folks that we're working with in a syringe exchange is over a third of them have been incarcerated in the last year. Over a third of them. And almost all of that is due to petty crimes related to obtaining drugs. So if we can get the driver of their substance use, which is the craving, if we can treat that with medications, that can clamp this down. It doesn't fix everything by itself, but it gives you a steady ground from which to address the rest of your life. Again, there's clear and convincing research that it will save money, save lives, and improve the quality of life, and it should really be improving the quality of public safety and public health in all of our communities.
Caleb, do you think there's going to be a moral hurdle for certain agencies, certain health professionals, and certainly certain voters that you've come to the conclusion that the way to treat the drug problem is by giving people drugs?
Yeah, so I think this is really important. And what I've really found is that I used to really go out there and say to people, hey, I'm a researcher and I know what the evidence says and you should do these medications because they save lives. And people are like, no, I don't believe you. I think you're wrong. The approach we're taking now, I think, is much more engaging with people, and it really is trying to be respectful of human beings. And what it is saying is, you know, if you have major depression, you deserve to understand what your condition is, understand what your treatment options are, understand that there's pros and cons of those treatment options. You can do nothing, that's a choice. You can get social support, you can get counseling, you can get medications, and that you as an individual deserve to understand your treatment options and have a voice in what care you get. That would be normal for you, Dave, if you show up to get your depression treated.
Yeah.
Or if I show up to get my diabetes treated. But we don't do that for addiction. We say, you're poor and you don't have good insurance, you might get this treatment and you have to follow all these rules. You're wealthy, you have good insurance, you can get this other type of treatment over here. I think the idea here with this, what we call treatment decision making, is that everybody deserves to understand their condition, understand their healthcare choices, and they should get to make some choices about what healthcare they actually get. That opioid use disorder is no different than any other medical condition in that way.
I think what would go a long way towards selling this is if you were able to say, truthfully, that if you take this U-turn, because you're talking about, you know, turning the whole treatment paradigm on its head, and you do what I'm recommending, 5 years from now, you will see far fewer needles in public parks. You won't see any more rolling RV crack houses. You will see more people becoming productive and getting jobs and paying taxes. Can you promise such a thing?
Oh, I think that if we actually made treatment on demand in the ways that people could and want to access it, absolutely.
You're going to say that to the governor?
He's already heard it. I mean, the way that we really do this in local communities is we don't just go in there and say, here's what you have to do. I go in a community and say, here's my sense of what's going on. Your overdose rate is really high. Your hepatitis C rate is really high among young adults. Let me tell you about some of the tools that I'm aware of. What do you see as the problem? What do you want to do? And at that table are police, their jails, their fire departments, there's schools, there's politicians, there's families, there's churches. This matters to everybody. People want a safe community. They care about public safety, and they believe most people care about public health as well. We have the tools. We just need for people to understand what they are and to see that you have people who use drugs in your community. Offering services helps care for those people and prevent harm in your community. Not offering services in your community doesn't make the problem go away. It exacerbates the problem.
University of Washington health researcher, Dr. Caleb Banta Green. Caleb, thank you very much.
Thank you.
824 traffic is brought to you by Subaru of Puyallup, and here's Chris Sullivan.
And we've buttoned up most of our slowing across the board, with the exception of what's happening on the 405 corridor between Bellevue and Renton, and going from Renton to Bellevue. By far the slowest of it is the northbound direction, which you should expect. Getting through the S-curves and up through Newcastle is still going to run you about 45 minutes. 10 minutes slower than you might anticipate on a Friday. We're buttoning up the southbound slowing from Bellevue to Renton after that crash we had in Newcastle. It's down to 20 minutes, which is more manageable, still about 8 minutes slower than you might expect. One of the other places that's seeing a lot of heavy slowing is the westbound direction of 520. As you get across the water and you pull into Montlake, it is very slow through that daily choke point there as people get off at UW. Looking at a 20-minute drive on 520, also about a 23-minute drive on I-90 between Bellevue and Seattle. The rest of the travel times, Federal Way to Seattle, about a 40-minute drive, 40 to 45 minutes out of the north end from Everett to Seattle or Everett to Bellevue. That is very good news. Looking at the Valley Freeway, we're all pretty good there, about 43 minutes to run the entire length. That's a great number. And we pretty much buttoned up all the slowing we had to southbound I-5 getting into Marysville after that earlier hit-and-run accident right near 528, the main Marysville on-ramp there. This report brought to you by Subaru of Puyallup. Traffic stressful, one thing that's stress-free. Stress-free pricing on over 800 cars at Subaru of Puyallup. Subaru of Puyallup, it's your stress-free dealership.
Gentle rain continues, 40 degrees at the Carter's Subaru studio. Coming up, we're going to bring you excerpts of the White House briefing going on now involving the president's budget director, Mick Mulvaney, who's getting into it with reporters over who's to blame for what appears to be a shutdown, which will hit at 9 o'clock Pacific time. This is Cairo Radio, PM Pacific time. Sorry.
Amazon has...